Hello, you dirty Magic players. Today I'm going to talk to you about the top 5 sleepers from Zendikar Rising. Let's get started.
Tell me where the cash at. I've been on the fast track.
My number 5 pick is Swarm Shambler. This is because it only costs 1 forest and it's got so much text on it that there's no way it can't be worth that cost. Basically, it comes in the battlefield, you get a +1/+1 counter, and it starts out as a 1/1, and then later on in the game, you can put a +1/+1 counter on it by paying 1 and tapping it, which is awesome. And if it gets targeted, or actually if any creature you control that has a +1/+1 counter gets targeted by a spell an opponent controls, you get a 1/1 green insect token from it. So almost any way you look at it, either you can use it to block something, or you can use it to get multiple green insect creature tokens with cards like Scavenging Ooze and Grokma, Skyclay Ravager in the standard format. There's no way that this isn't going to see play at some point. I mean, the Scavenging Ooze and Grokma, they just now came out, so I mean, we got another year or two to see some play and some action between these cards. Now, speaking of Scavenging Ooze, it costs 2, 1 in a forest, and it has a similar effect, but basically you have to exile a target from a graveyard, and if it was a creature card, you get that +1/+1 counter. With Swarm Shambler, you get the +1/+1 counter, no stipulation, you pay 1, you tap, you get the +1/+1 counter. So it's a little more reliable when you're trying to buff up your creatures that way. And it does pair well with Grokma. Grokma is basically just a more expensive, more powerful version of this card, and it has seen a little more attention than Swarm Shambler. But really, these two, at some point, they're going to meet up and they're going to make a good deck. Scavenging Ooze has always been proven to be a good card. That's why they reprinted it. And there's just no way that Swarm Shambler is not going to see some play. My number 4 pick is actually multiple cards. I cheated a little bit. It's the Pathway lands. Now, sure, they're not exactly sleepers. They do see play, but nobody even talks about them. I have not seen any videos over these lands. No one mentions them. They just mention the pay 3 life, keep it untapped, the mythic lands, which are good. But the thing with this set is that all the mythics are worth a lot of money right now. And really, these pathway lands, I think they're going to go up in price. And I think they're going to be way better long term than they are right now. Just because people are only seeing them as a standard card. And they don't do anything fun. They're just a land, you know? But the fact that they come into play untapped and you get to pick what kind of land you want them to be makes them way better than a basic land. Sure, you can say you got like Fabled Passage or something like that where you have to go find a basic land, or a lot of these ramp decks that you have to go find basic lands. But at the same time, any deck that's not revolving around basic lands in some way, they need these cards. And even in Modern, if you're not searching for your basic lands some way or another, or even if you do have cards like your fetch lands that do that, you still need other dual lands, and these lands work perfectly because they come into play untapped. You don't have any downside. It's literally just a basic land on each side, and it just doesn't say basic land. So I got my playset of each one. I'm just gonna sit there with them, and eventually, once people stop hyping up the mythic cards in this set, I really think these are gonna take their place, and I think they're gonna prove their value. And over time, we're definitely gonna see that people will realize that these lands are pretty good. Yeah. My number 3 pick is Skyclay Relic. This card is definitely a sleeper card. Nobody really talks about it. It's got Indestructible. It has a kicker of 3. You have the option to pay 6 instead of the original mana cost of 3 to put basically 3 copies of it into play. And then it adds 1 mana of any color. So it's a 3 mana ramp spell, Indestructible. The only thing in standard that can take care of it is probably like Ugin. And if you're playing ramp, then you've got some plans for Ugin anyways. You're probably going to play them yourself, or you're just going to play some sort of rampy like counterspell deck with a green-blue deck or something like that, and probably counter Ugin. This will be coming down either turn 3 or latest like turn 4. You might be able to play it for all 3 copies using the kicker. Either way, with only 1 thing in the standard format to really take care of it, it's definitely something that we should be watching out for. Another point to this, and maybe even a better point than having it in standard, is playing in Commander. Commander is always looking for these ways to make more mana and get artifacts out, and this just fits that perfectly. You can get 3 artifacts out with this one card. You can either play it early on if you're looking for mana, or you can play it at turn 6, or whatever turn it takes you to get 6 mana, and get 3 copies of it. And then it's just gonna be a part of like a ton of commander combo decks that use artifacts and tapping for mana. We already see those a lot. This is just gonna be part of that, and it's a rare, meaning that a couple years from now, as we've been seeing in the past sets, once they stop printing them, these commander cards go up in price just because everybody wants them. Now this is the type of card where they're probably not gonna reprint it, because I don't think it's to that level where they're gonna want to reprint it. But I can definitely see it reaching, $3 or $4 piece in a couple years from now after they stop printing it. And for that reason, it's my number 3 sleeper. All right, guys, we've got number 2 here, Inscription of Ruin. Now, this here, it's a sorcery, which is a drawback, but it's got 3 options. And just like when you think about giving your opponent options is always a bad thing, when you give yourself options, especially with just one card, it's worth more than you'd think it would be. And the fact that all 3 of these options are probably worth 3 mana by themselves, and you have the ability to pay that kicker price of 4 and get all of them if you're to that point of the game, is amazing. And it's a rare card, so there's not going to be as many printed as if it was a common card like the Charms from back in the day. So the first option is target opponent discards 2 cards. Yeah, because you have other options, you're always, whenever you play this, they're going to be discarding those 2 cards, and it's probably going to be the last 2 cards in their hand. And that's just going to win you the game right there for 3 mana when that happens. But if that doesn't happen, and then let's say you're playing a game and you have Kazza, Titan of Death's Hunger, in your graveyard, which happens to cost 2 mana, and you want to just revive it, maybe they only have 1 card in their hand, you go ahead and use this for its second ability. Put that card, your Kazza, into play. Then they're gonna have to discard the card, and then it's just, there's a lot of shenanigans that you can get into with this. And then the third option, just destroy target creature with a converted mana cost of 3 or less. With it costing 3, destroying something with 3 or less, that's a good turn 3 play if you don't have anything else to do. But they're all solid options by themselves. But then when you add that kicker, you have the option to kick it for 4 and do all 3. It's just ridiculous. That's going to win you the game in a lot of circumstances. It's going to be turn 7 or whatever. They got 2 cards left in their hand. You're going to make them discard their 2 cards. You're going to bring Kazza back out. Let's say they had 3 cards in their hand. Now they're discarding 3 cards. If they didn't have any left, they're just going to take the damage from Kazza, and then you're going to destroy their creature. And what are they going to do? They don't got any cards in their hand. You destroyed their creature, and you're playing black, so they probably didn't have that many creatures in the first place because you destroyed all the other ones. It gets stupid. And the fact that nobody really wants to play this, there's a lot of other removal spells, but none of them have the versatility that this card does, and none of them can do as many things. Discard is a big part of this format right now, and it can probably, it's only going to go up from there. People are finding ways to make discard work, and this card right here, Inscription of Ruin, is going to be one of those cards that helps that deck work. All right, guys, my number 1 pick for the top 5 sleepers in Zendikar Rising is Kazza, Royal Chaser. Now, you probably saw this card when it came out, and you probably remember it being hyped up, but nobody's seen it. Nobody's done anything with it since. A lot of the time we've been worrying about Uro and other decks that are now banned, and I really think, even though Dimir Rogues are out, this deck's got a good chance. The Wizards deck, red and blue, Kazza, Royal Chaser, flying and haste. Don't forget the haste. You can tap it, and the next instant or sorcery spell that you cast this turn costs X less to cast, where X is the number of wizards you control as this ability resolves. So, you got Kazza out. You play it turn 3, and you can play Kazza, tap it, make some other card that lets you draw cards or whatever you want to do, cost less. Or a really good play would be turn 3. Let's say you have Ryeli, however you pronounce that, the Everwise, and you play her turn 3, and then it gets ridiculous. Turn 4, you play Kazza, Royal Chaser, and then during their turn, you can either wait for them to play something and counter it, with something like Neutralize or whatever counterspell you want to choose, because it's only going to cost you 2 less than the converted mana cost, due to you have two wizards out. Or a really good play is if you wait until the end of their turn, you cast Rain of Revelation, you draw 3 cards, discard a card, and it only costs 2 because you got 2 wizards out. You tap Kazza to reduce the mana cost, and then Raeli, she lets you draw a card off that discarded card. So you're basically doing Ancestral Visions on their turn, and then you get a loot afterwards. So you get a discarded card and draw another card, and you just discard the worst card in your hand. And then it also makes Raeli's, it makes her power go up. So it's just stuff like that. These Wizards decks, I'm not even mentioning Fae of Wishes, which happens to have a 4-cost sorcery attached to it as an adventure, that will be affected by Kazza. Fae of Wishes has already proven itself as a good wizard in the format. Once somebody comes out with a good list for this kind of deck, it's going to be ridiculous. And Dimir Rogues, like, sure, that's a good deck, but I really think Kazza is going to be the key to the Wizards deck, and it's going to happen. Like, there's no way it doesn't happen. Even if it doesn't happen, Kazza is still going to be a good card in Modern. They're always looking for 2-drops that do things. And just look at the text on it. I mean, it's got Flying and Haste. It's a wizard. There's already a ton of wizard decks in Modern. There's no way that this card is not the #1 sleeper. If you have another sleeper that you think is better than this card, please leave a comment and let me know. I don't think I'm going to agree with you, but we'll see. I do have 12 copies of Kazza that I bought just because I believe this card's gonna be good. And I bought these, I pre-ordered them, so I bought them before they came out, and it was only like 25 cents then, and I just don't understand what people don't get about this card. It's definitely gonna be a good card, and I'm not saying it's the best in Zendikar Rising, but that's why it's on this sleepers list. And if you enjoyed this list, please leave a comment below. Tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. Please leave a like and subscribe. My channel's still very new, and every subscription really helps me out. So I appreciate you guys. You have a wonderful day, and I hope this sleepers list encourages you to go out there and make some good decks, and I'll be happy to see what they are. Thank you. Have a good day. Enjoy Magic. We'll see you later. Goodbye.